our podcast. I'm the Disturbed Southern Belle.
And I'm the gentleman.
We're starting up our new series doing some mythology. And on this episode, I'm going to be talking about some of the more disturbing sort of monsters in Egyptian mythology. Some of them are kind of gods, some of them not so much, but they're just very interesting characters. So the first one is Apep, and he's also known as Apophis. And he is one of the most notorious monsters in Egyptian mythology. He's depicted as a giant serpent or dragon sometimes, and he was the embodiment of chaos and evil. And he is basically constantly threatening the order of the world. His primary role was an adversary for the sun god Ra, who every night he basically attempted to devour the sun during its journey through the underworld, causing eclipses and storms. And then there was a battle every night between Ra and Apep, which symbolized the eternal struggle between order and chaos.
Naturally.
So, of course, he wanted to basically take everything back to darkness and nothingness. So, the next one is Ammit, and he's also known as the devourer of the dead. And he's a fearsome creature with a lioness head, a hippopotamus body, and a crocodile's hindquarters. So a very interesting one to me.
Very interesting configuration.
So, yeah, this dangerous combination made Ammit one of the most terrifying figures in Egyptian mythology. His primary duty was to consume the hearts of those that were deemed unworthy during the weighing of the heart ceremony in the Hall of Mot. So, Mot is basically the goddess of truth, and Anubis would basically weigh your heart on a scale with one of her feathers. And if it was found, to be heavier than that feather, then you were supposed to be unworthy. And then,
right.
Yeah, so it's basically meaning that you lived a life of sin. And so he would eat your heart, which condemned the soul to an eternal fiery limbo. Sounds good, huh?
Yep.
So the next one is probably one of the most iconic mythical creatures in Egyptian mythology, and probably everyone has at least probably seen pictures or heard of it, and it's the Sphinx.
Well, yeah.
So it's known for its majestic and enigmatic presence. It is traditionally depicted with the body of a lion and the head of a human, and it represents strength and wisdom. The Great Sphinx of Giza is the most famous representation of this creature, and is believed to be a guardian of the pyramids, and it wards off evil spirits and protects sacred sites. The Sphinx riddle is also supposed to be a well-known aspect of its myth, challenging those who seek to pass. It would ask you this crazy riddle, and then you had to answer, of course, correctly, or you couldn't pass.
Right.
So the next is the Benu, and it's a bird, a mythical creature associated with the concept of rebirth and renewal, often depicted as a heron. The Benu bird is considered a precursor to the Greek phoenix. So the Benu bird was linked to the sun god Ra and its concept of cyclical renewal. It was believed that the Benu bird played a role in the creation of the world and represented the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Because, sure.
Yeah.
Next is Shesmu, and he's the lesser known but very intriguing deity in Egyptian mythology. He is depicted as a lion-headed god. He was associated with wine, oil, and blood, embodying both creative and destructive aspects. His dual nature is fascinating. He was both a benevolent god of perfumes and wine, and a fierce executioner of the wicked. His complex character shadows the Egyptians' understanding of duality in nature and divinity. He's an odd one, when you think about what he's over. But anyway, next is Sobek, and he is one of the prominent deities associated with crocodiles, often depicted with a crocodile's head on a human body. He is a powerful god of the Nile, fertility, and military prowess. His protective nature extended to the pharaoh and the nation, and as a god of the Nile, he ensured the fertility of the land and prosperity of the people. His fearsome appearance also made him a deity of military strength and protection. And people would try this thing where they would eat the meat of the crocodile of the Nile, and that was supposed to give them like invulnerability or something. But they had to be careful because it was also supposed to be challenging him, so it was kind of weird. I don't know. It was very strange.
Definitely sounds it.
Yeah, so then there was Tarawit, the goddess of childbirth and fertility. She's depicted as a pregnant hippopotamus with the limbs of a lion and the back of a crocodile. So this unique, I know, this unique combination made her a protective deity for mothers and children. She was a household goddess invoked to protect women during pregnancy and childbirth. Her role as a nurturing figure highlighted the Egyptians' respect for the life-giving process and the protection of the family. Then we have the Serpent, a mythical creature with the body of a leopard and a long snake-like neck. And he appears in Egyptian art. This creature is less known but carries a significant symbolic meaning. They are often depicted in a state of chaos, symbolizing the wild and untamed forces outside the civilized world. Their appearance in art highlights the Egyptians' awareness of the balance between order and chaos. The griffin was also, with the body of a lion and the head and wings of an eagle, is another fascinating creature. The hybrid guardians symbolize divine protection and power. Griffins were seen as guardians of treasure and sacred objects. Embodying the combined strengths of the lion and the eagle, they represented vigilance and strength, protecting the divine and the royal. Bes is a unique figure in Egyptian mythology, depicted as a dwarf with a lion-like face. Despite his small stature, he was a powerful protector god associated with music, dance, and childbirth. His primary role was to protect households, especially during childbirth. He warded off evil spirits and ensured a joyful and safe environment. His cheerful and protective nature made him a beloved figure in everyday life. Set, also known as Seth, is one of the most complex, powerful deities in Egyptian mythology. Depicted as a creature with a combination of animal traits, often a donkey or a mysterious composite animal with a forked tail and long curved snout, he represents chaos, storms, and deserts. He is also best known for his role in the myth of Osiris, where he murders his brother Osiris to seize the throne of Egypt. And despite his chaotic nature, he also has a protective aspect. He defends the sun god Ra from the serpent Apep during their nightly journey through the underworld. His duality highlights the balance between chaos and order in Egyptian belief. And it was said he's the only one that was able to actually look Apep in the eye and fight him, because of his chaos nature. That all the other gods, and none of them could do it. And he was the only one that could actually look him dead in the eye, and he could fight him. So then, as I mentioned before, Anubis, he is depicted with the head of a jackal, and usually he's black. And he's supposed to be black because of the silt of the Nile, representing the fertility, rebirth, and all that. He's also probably one of the most recognizable deities in Egyptian mythology. You've probably seen him, even if you don't realize it. He's like a jackal head, which looks like a dog, basically, with like these long pointy ears that point up. You've probably seen it a million times. If you've seen anything Egyptian, I'm sure you've seen something in regards to Anubis. He is the god of mummification. He's the one that was supposed to have actually developed mummification, and the afterlife. So, he created mummification, but he's also the god of the afterlife. He plays a crucial role in the journey of the dead. Now, like I said, he's supposed to be responsible for embalming the dead and guiding souls to the afterlife. He's supposed to be like this fierce protector that will, protect you as you walk, to get to wherever you're going. He also oversees the weighing of the heart ceremony, which, like I said before, is that ensures only the worthy can enter the afterlife. So his role is where he takes the heart, weighs it against a feather of mott, sees, whatever. And it highlights the importance of the afterlife in Egyptian culture and the meticulous care given to the deceased. Because, as you know, they mummified people, they, did different things. And those were not easy ceremonies, so to speak, and things that they did, rituals. So Sekhmet, he is depicted as a lioness or a woman with a lioness head. Is the goddess of war, destruction, and healing. Now, she is fiercely protective, and it's also supposed to be, her appearance is supposed to reflect her power and her ferocity. She's known for her destructive rampages against the enemies of Ra, which is the sun god. However, she also has a nurturing side associated with healing and medicine, and this dual nature of destruction and healing highlights the Egyptians' understanding of balance in the natural world. Then we have El Nahada, and they have a relatively recent origin compared with the others. Just within the past century, apparently stories began to circulate in rural Egypt about a beautiful voice that calls by name to men walking the banks of the Nile. Desperate to get a look at this enchanting creature, the bewitched victim veers closer and closer to the water until falls in or is dragged in and drowns. It's often associated with as being a classic genie, which, unlike the other entities on this list, would place her in the Muslim rather than the classical Egyptian pantheon. Kind of sounds to me more like a siren.
Yeah, kind of does.
If it's kind of calling to you and you kind of get enchanted and have to go there. Then we have Uraeus, and not to be confused with the demon snake Apep, Uraeus is a rearing cobra symbolizing the majesty of the Egyptian pharaohs. The origin of this figure harks back to the Egyptian prehistory during the pre-dynastic period. They were associated with this now obscure goddess Wajit, who presided over the fertility of the Nile Delta in Lower Egypt. Around the same time, a similar function was performed in Upper Egypt by the more obscure goddess Nekhbit, often depicted as a white vulture. When Upper and Lower Egypt were unified around 3000 BCE, depictions of both Uraeus and Nekhbit were diplomatically incorporated into the royal headdress and were informally as the two ladies. Then we have Babi, and they were a mythical Egyptian creature that exhibited attributes of an evil demonic deities. Babi means chief of baboons or bull of the baboons. And ancient Egyptians perceived baboons as these violent and aggressive creatures, which truthfully they can be.
Oh, absolutely.
Which led Babi's portrayal as a bloodthirsty creature that feasts on the organs and entrails of the dead. They are similar to Ammit in that they are often depicted by fiery lakes consuming the sinful souls of the departed. Khepri, also associated with the scarab beetle, is also known as the dung beetle. Khepri stood as a unique figure within Egyptian mythology. They are typically portrayed as a human body with the head of a beetle in ancient Egyptian funerary skulls. They also carry a symbolic essence that represents the divine forces steering the sun's celestial journey across the heavens. This link stemmed from the scarab beetle's behavior of rolling balls of dung across the arid desert landscape. From within these dung balls, young beetles emerged, hatching from eggs that were laid within. This phenomenon is intertwined with the Egyptian term Khepr, which conveys concepts of transformation and creation. Khepri also assumed a subordinate role in the comparison to the esteemed solar deity Ra. Notably, Khepri personified the morning sun, while Ra emanated the radiant midday sun. Khepri was also bestowed the status of god of rebirth, coming from the belief that beetles were entities that seemingly materialized from nothingness, yet possessed the power to perpetuate their lineage. Then we have the Ouroboros. The Ouroboros is an ancient symbol that portrays a serpent or sometimes a dragon that's seen eating its own tail. It's like a circle, and it looks like it's biting its own tail or whatever. It has roots in both Egyptian and Greek mythology and traditions. The name comes from the Greek words for tail and eating, and they are often interpreted as representing eternal renewal, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The shedding of the skin represents the transmigration of souls. It also holds fertility symbolism in certain religions, with the tail being a phallic symbol and the mouth as a womb-like symbol, which I guess I could see, I suppose. In ancient Egypt, the Ouroboros appears in the enigmatic book of the Netherworld, which was once a funerary text that was found in King Tut's tomb. It depicts a serpent encircling a figure's head and feet, representing the cyclic nature of time and periodic renewal. The symbol is associated with disorders surrounding the orderly world and persisted through Egyptian and Roman times and is often found on magical talismans. So, that's just a handful of some of the more interesting ones. They are interesting that most of all the Egyptian ones, if you've noticed, are some sort of an animal in some way, or a mix of an animal and a human, or mix of several animals, which is kind of weird.
It is.
As opposed to a lot of the other, not weird like, but you know what I'm saying, it's weird as opposed to a lot of the others.
It's unique.
It is. There we go. Because a lot of them, they're more human-y looking, or even if they got multiple arms or different colored skin and stuff, they're still more human in the look, and most, the gods and goddesses or whatever. But anyway, we hope you enjoyed that first segment. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe, and don't forget to
stay disturbed.